We're live and we're just going to start in a minute. Okay, so we're going to start. Hello, everybody. Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great time. Welcome back to Remote Workforce Summit, day 2. And moving on to our next session for today would be business continuity through remote access, empowering secure remote workplaces and accelerating digital transformation today. And our speaker for today would be Mr. Stefan Pristel. He is a senior vice president of IoT and Enterprise TeamViewer Germany. And to give you all a brief introduction for Mr. Stefan, he has about 25 years of innovative technology, go-to-marketing and commercial experience with notable roles in fast-paced technology, enterprise software and cloud service providers, including Macromedia, Adobe, and Unify. So welcome, Mr. Stephen. It's an honor having you coming in today and speaking about such an important topic. I look forward to learn so much from this session. So I'm going to hand it over to you. But before we begin our session, I would request all our attendees, any questions you all will have, please, you can put it in the Q&A box and Mr. Stefan will answer them by end of the session. So yes, Mr. Stefan, please, you may please start. Thank you.
Marsha, thank you very much for the introduction. I'm very much looking forward to share with you and talk to you about the business continuity through remote work, as Marsha mentioned. When we look at the current times, we know that businesses and the economy has dramatically changed due to COVID-19. But not only this, the remote world and the remote work world we knew has changed dramatically. And the conversation we have with many of our customers is, what is your operational solution to survive? Because when you look at it, and that's a survey that was conducted in April, 43% of full-time workers would work remotely more often going forward. So that's the employee's requirement. And then Gartner actually surveyed a couple of hundred CFOs in March, and they said they intend to shift employees to remotely work permanently in the future. 3/4 said this is going to be the new normal for them. With that, the Security Boulevard in May said they noticed a severe increase in security threats and attacks since the beginning of the coronavirus outbreak. 71% said we need to put further safeguards around our organization because people are working remotely. So for us, it's really the question with our customers, what matters right now? On the one side, it is really the aspect of enabling your business and the employees to operate, as well as to support your customers and employees from anywhere. And this anywhere is very important in there. You need to securely allow the use of corporate as well as non-corporate IoT devices to access your network. So talking about bring your own device or mobile private devices. And you need to as well enable your IT team to remotely support your workforce. Even though they work from at home, they need to make sure they can enable your employees to work whilst they're sitting in the home office. There are many challenges coming in creating a remote work infrastructure at an enterprise scale. You're talking hundreds and thousands of employees. One for sure is productivity. How do I make sure my employees stay productive? How do I make sure that a VPN is not derailing on this productivity and is actually secure enough? How can I flexibly grow? How can I make this scalable? How do I make sure we are compatible and compliant with our security rules? And these are the questions that, for instance, one of our customers had. It's a municipality that's under construction. They're building actually this year a new public house, but then COVID-19 hit. And for them, it was really the key to keep the office running. So they sent 300 users home in 1 week to have them work from home, and they couldn't provide company devices. It was 100% private devices they are using in order to enabling this. And they had very high security requirements. They needed conditional access. They needed to make sure that they can only grant access of one device to one on-premise workstation, for instance. They needed to make sure that single sign-on is going to work so that their company provided credentials are working for the remote access possibility so that they can grant or revoke rights immediately. They needed reporting and auditability as well as part of one solution so that they know who has performed what tasks when remoting into on-premise applications. And they needed a black screen functionality because there were still 800 people in the office. And if you remote into a desktop application or computer, the screen needs to be black because of GDPR and privacy perspectives. So with an integrated remote access solution, they were actually able to send those people home, and they will save money going forward by keeping them productive. Because now they're thinking of, we don't need to rent an office space. We actually let all 1,100 people work remotely going forward. Another topic, and these are two quotes that were just recently released, is we have seen in sending people home that our legacy infrastructure is not meant for having thousands or hundreds of people connecting to your on-premise infrastructure. And Gartner said that legacy infrastructure will not enable support remote work. And on the other side, the Security Boulevard said that there is the challenge of VPN where it can't scale to the extent that it's needed, and it can become actually a vulnerability. And going forward, it will lead to the death of VPN. Now, why is VPN a challenge? And I want to share with you a customer example that as well happened on the TeamViewer side lately as well. It's an Italian automotive OEM, and they needed to keep their business going. They needed business continuity, but they needed as well to make sure that they can produce, design for the multiple brands that they're actually serving. So for them, they have taken 500 CAD engineers that normally work on very high performing desktop workstations. You cannot have them walk out the office with a desktop workstation under their arm, but they needed to be sent home. So they leveraged TeamViewer Tensor and enabled their employees to work from home with a laptop to connect back to their on-premise CID workstations without derailing the performance. The big differentiation between a remote access solution here and a VPN solution is that on a remote access solution, you're only transferring a screen image, and only the increment of the screen image you are changing. So that means that the processing power stays on the CAD workstation, whilst at home, when sitting in front of it, you actually feel like you're working as you were sitting in front of this workstation. With a VPN connection, everyone at home has a 50 Mbit or 100 Mbit line. If 100 people would connect to the infrastructure, it is not going to work because this is a network infrastructure that would not support suddenly 10 gigabyte of required bandwidth coming in externally. On the other side, security is absolutely important if you have people working from at home. The same for municipality, the same for any company out there. How do I make this secure? When you have a VPN infrastructure, this means the data is actually floating between the computer your employee sits in front and on the other side, the desktop or workstation that's in the office. It's full data transfer. You can actually download and save files locally, which you do not want for people to happen. With a remote access solution, you only have the screen increments shown and there is no data really exchanged between those two devices. Why can working remotely be as efficient as working at your office? You can enable instant and secure connection to any on-premise desktop. And you can as well then access any local storage and work at LAN speeds because only the screen is being refreshed. And so that means you work with resource-intense applications on power workstations without any efficiency losses. Plus, it is utterly secure because you have all the aspects of integration into your own security protocols and no real data is exchanged. And you can ensure additional privacy through black screen functionality. Plus, in TeamViewer, there is an integrated chat and online collaboration functionality. And I think that's super important here, that remote work is more than video conferences and screen sharing. It's really enabling people working remotely, productive, and giving them access to the right applications or computers whilst they're on premise. What we work with our customers, and I think it's ultimately important for any organization out there, is that you can provision secure remote workplaces in hours. You have seen two examples that just happened over the course of the last 8 weeks. Within days and weeks, and we have so many more examples, company could keep their business running. We were instrumental in enabling business continuity. This goes as well into industrial aspects. So there are companies out there that connect to analytics system, and they can do this with their technicians being anywhere in the world from any device. It's important that you can enforce those access rights to each individual device or group of devices. So team member A can only connect to 2 on-premise applications, giving support on the HR department or working on a CAD station. You regulate who has actually access to which applications, files, and computers. Plus, and that's equally important, those access rights actually apply for corporate issued or personal devices, including mobile devices. So whatever device is being used, you can control where it's connecting to. You restrict and as well suspend file transfer, super important. Nothing's leaving your organization. And for those online meetings you want to do aside and the screen sharing, you make them utterly secure. Every connection is end-to-end encrypted, and you can lock them so that no one is actually attending them from externally. Plus, with TeamViewer as well, and that's an integrated solution, you actually can check the health status of those devices on-premise as well as off-premise. And you can update and patch outdated devices automatically. And that as well includes bring your own devices. So you can make sure that even if your employees are being sent home, you know that the computers they're working on are not becoming a risk for your infrastructure. I want to briefly talk about the TeamViewer Tensor connectivity platform that actually enabled what we were seeing earlier in those 2 customer examples. It is a completely cloud-based smart SaaS architecture. We are a 100% SaaS company. So if you want to connect, you have single sign-on that integrates seamlessly with your corporate security guidelines. So that means you can grant and revoke rights instantly. And then you have this conditional access, which means you can define on the most granular level who can connect to which computer or service or file service or any other application within your organization. What's extremely important here as well, that you can connect from any device to any device. So that means from a Mac computer, you can connect to a Windows computer. From a mobile device, you can connect to a file server. You can connect to Linux servers. We actually do not care in regards of what operating system you're using. Everything is 256-bit encrypted, and it's end-to-end encrypted for all the connections that are happening and for any data. Plus, it comes as well with a detailed logging of every action taking on the platform, that it gives you the ability to do audits later on, which is very often required in larger organizations to understand who has connected to which on-premise application or device. TeamViewer Tensor for remote access and how we enable a digital workplace. The 6 pillars here is 1, it's really about enabling a productive and secure remote workplace for business continuity in any market condition. And it needs to scale instantly and linearly for corporate needs. If you need to add another 100 users, it's done with a few clicks. If you want to roll it out to 500 devices, it's done silently in the background without interrupting the end user experience. From a security perspective and data protection perspective, besides of every connection being end-to-end encrypted, there is this comprehensive logging and reporting for auditing and compliance. And then every corporate security policy can be adhered to with a single sign-on and conditional access capability. Now, the real benefit as well is keep your employees productive and make them work as fluidly as possible. And instead of buying additional gateways and managing servers with a SaaS infrastructure, you're actually really lowering your TCO because you have 100% scalable SaaS infrastructure. And you can then run your business remotely with an integrated solution. It gives you remote access capabilities for employees, remote support capabilities to ensure your employees stay productive or your customers can be helped. It comes with device management and endpoint security, and it comes with integrated collaboration solutions. I want to briefly talk about TeamViewer in the last 2 minutes. TeamViewer is a German company. I'm currently talking to you close from the Stuttgart area, and we are 15 years in the market. We are a public company since September last year and now noted in the MDAX. Since the ignition of TeamViewer, our technology has been installed on 2.25 billion devices so far. Whilst we are talking on an average, there are over 340 million devices connected to our network. Today, we are a really, truly global company, and it's great. I'm actually really glad to speak to you, and David Hodgson is here on the line as well, because we have opened our presence in your region as well. Today, close to 1,000 employees with over 500,000 paying customers. And we focus on remote access, remote work, collaboration, and as well, we have a strong foothold in the IoT segment and as well an augmented reality support solution. How do we do it that we can connect the whole world? We have a highly scalable cloud platform out there that runs over 1,100 routers globally. So what we do is we make sure that we establish the shortest connection between two endpoints, and once this handshake has happened, TeamViewer is out. For us, it's utterly important that the customers that work on our global access network have the best performance regardless where they are, and we always optimize our connections even for low bandwidth environments to generate a fluid end user experience. TeamViewer delivers this business continuity across the enterprise. On the left side, you actually see we connect from any operating system to any device. And you can interchangeably connect from Linux to Apple devices, from Android devices to a mobile phone. On the right-hand side, we have massively expanded in the last year on the industrial sector. The same asset applies for your remote worker accessing on-premise applications. It is the remote employee managing machines remotely. TeamViewer is integrated in production facilities to remotely access, control, operate any device out there in the market. And we integrate into many CRMs and into many help desk systems. So from within an Zendesk or a Salesforce or a mobile Iron for mobile devices, you can connect to an endpoint and manage it in an integrated experience. TeamViewer, as I said earlier, 100% cloud hosted, over 1,100 routers, over 45 million devices are at this moment connected to our infrastructure, and we focus on performance with our platform. Uptime is actually 99.99% out there, and the average transfer rate is at 100 Mbps. And it's not only us saying that TeamViewer is some good technology for remote desktop and remote access. We're seeing lots of the Gartner Peer Insight and customer choice reviews out there saying that TeamViewer is an enabling technology, especially for remote access, remote work, and then the IoT space for enterprises. With that, I'm closing. Thank you very much for listening. And I want to introduce you to David Hodgson. He is our lead in the region, and please reach out to him as well directly, but I'm now very happy to take some questions.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Stefan. It was a very nice session. Yes, we have a lot of attendees asking questions, so I'm going to... Mr. Rizwan Karim asked, how can TeamViewer be more accessible for public sector?
Well, that is a very open question in regards of what is with accessible for open for public sector means. So we have many customers actually in the public sector, like I showed this example, but please reach out to David or myself, and then we can talk about the specific needs and requirements for the public sector.
All right, Mr. Satya is asking, do you implement any project in industrial oil and gas plant environment setup. Can you share your challenges?
So in oil and gas, when it comes to, for instance, condition monitoring or accessing offshore, offsite devices out there, what we help organizations is alarming. So taking, for instance, sensor data and aggregating all this data in our IoT cloud dashboard, and then you're setting thresholds for those. If something is going above a certain set threshold, the ability to remotely connect to this asset and understand if there's something you can actually fix by remoting into it, and or analyze what the problem is in order to send the right technician. Another aspect in there is definitely our augmented reality solution, because you have people on site there and they are explaining to someone who sits, for instance, in the headquarters what the problem is by taking out their mobile phone and starting an augmented reality session. This is where TeamViewer can absolutely help to understand the problem on site and work on a joint remediation of it. It really depends on what needs to be done in the oil and gas industry. So please come back to us, and we absolutely want to talk in detail about this area.
Okay, there's one more question by Mr. Bilal. He's asking, does TeamViewer provides group chat sharing?
Group chat sharing. So yes, within TeamViewer and our meeting capabilities, you actually have group chats in there where you can collaborate, and from this group chat you can, for instance, then start group meetings. Yes, that's possible.
What is the difference between TeamViewer and AnyDesk? Is asked by Mr. Hasib.
Well, when you look at TeamViewer in regards of our completeness of ability to execute for any size of organizations, from an SMB perspective to large enterprise, we have security capabilities that organizations require that you can trust on in regards of German company that has German data centers, allows you to integrate into all of your security protocols, for instance, with single sign-on and with conditional access, and then having a solution that allows you to not only remotely connect, access, collaborate, but comes with an integrated capability for device management, so patch management, as well as backup functionality, as well as integrated meeting functionality. This is unique out there in the market.
All right, thank you so much. One last question that would be by Mr. Abhishek Raj, and he wants to ask you that how does TeamViewer deal with low bandwidth situation?
Actually, very well, because our algorithm is understanding that you're, for instance, in a 3G environment, and is then compressing the screen transfer, but that you as an end user still have a fluent experience on accessing it. Remember, the data we are pushing through is screen refresh data, in contrast to a VPN, where all the processing power that happens in the office needs to happen again on your device you're working remotely with. And this goes away with TeamViewer. It's a huge advantage.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Stefan. That was a great session. I know a lot of attendees are asking a lot of questions, but
we will answer them.
Yes,
Ask
we
the
will answer
questions on
them
the
all.
profile.
We have a Q&A tab, and Mr. Stephen is going to go back and he's going to sit and answer all your questions. Don't worry about it. And we have already started with our next session, so I would request all the attendees. Our next session would be at 11:20, which is already started, by Mr. Sanjeev Dikshit. And our next topic would be middle line management approach for sustainable top and bottom line growth. So I would request all the attendees to please start the session. Just click on the session button on the right hand side and you will be you can join the next session. Thank you so much, Mr. Stefan. It was a pleasure. We are privileged to have you taking our time, coming and speaking so much in detail about this session. And I would request you to please answer all the questions in the Q&A tab. I hope you're doing well. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Same to you. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for your questions and for attending. All the best to you. Stay safe.
Take care. Bye-bye.